Bucket naked.
Please hit the gym. Please hit the gym, and the pH needs to be balanced as well.
I've been drinking. Can't keep your eyes off my right now.
JLerone presents, where we talk about the facts, foolishness, and a little bit of black female fuckery. Today's video, man, we're going to be looking at this plane crash that happened in Toronto, the Delta Airlines that landed and then flipped upside down. Just want to say I'm glad everybody's okay. I think there were a few people that were rushed to the hospital, with some minor injuries and things of that nature because of the weather. I think some people might have gotten, maybe a little frostbitten or something like that. Because I did hear him say that, cold related injuries were involved as well. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at that, man, and just say, like I said, I'm glad everybody's okay. But to try to find out what happened in this thing, because we've been having accidents, this is like the fourth or fifth plane crash in about a month. You know what I mean? So, starting with the one in Washington, Philadelphia, yeah, it's crazy, man, what's going on with these airplanes. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first video. All right. Let's see what we got here.
Recovering from injuries after a Delta flight crashed and flipped over at the Toronto International Airport.
Eyewitness News reporter Irene Cruz is here in studio with the new video just into our newsroom. Irene.
Yeah, John, Rachel, what a dramatic and frightening scene for those passengers. Smoke was pouring out of the plane as 80 people rushed to get to safety on a snowy tarmac. This new video just into our newsroom shows their point of view.
Everything, drop it. Come on. Don't take no video. Step on the way. On the way.
So chaotic. It's an unreal sight. The plane upside down, its wings snapped off. Smoke was coming from the fuselage yesterday afternoon as people evacuated. This Delta plane crash landed and caught fire at Toronto Pearson International Airport around 2:15 p.m. These images here also showing the moments before the evacuation. Passengers were hanging upside down at one point. Delta says 19 people were rushed to hospital, including a man in her 40s had critical injuries, but no one was killed. John Nelson was on that plane that was traveling from Minneapolis.
When we hit, it was just a super hard, like I hit the ground, and the plane went sideways, and I believe we skidded like on our side and then flipped over on our back. Where we ended up, there was like a big fireball out this left side of the plane.
Just so you are, there's people outside walking around the aircraft there. Yeah, we've got it. The aircraft there's upside down and burning.
Now, of course, questions are emerging about what happened. The Toronto Airport fire chief says the runway was dry and there were no crosswind conditions here. No other aircraft were involved, but just a scary situation for those passengers. And aviation officials say the crash is the fourth major aviation accident in North America in the past 3 weeks.
And I'm going to stop it right here because she said something that's interesting. She was talking about there has been no other I mean, there was no crosswinds, or the crosswinds wasn't a factor. But that's I heard I saw another video where they was talking about crosswinds could have been a major factor. So you got two conflicting stories here, and I want to let y'all hear another reporter that came out and talked about this, and they were saying that there were actually, some crosswinds that could have affected the landing. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
A few people on stretchers that we have transported. I have seen one person with a sling on their arm, and I've seen others that are just potentially.
And I'm sorry if the volume is low. That's just the recording from the video, so I can't make it get any louder. So I do apologize if the recording is low.
Exposure type injuries because it is very cold here.
The plane, a Bombardier CRJ-900 regional jet made in Canada, is a workhorse for short-haul flights worldwide. At the time of the crash, it was 18 degrees with 20 to 30 mile-per-hour winds and strong crosswinds. The question for investigators, how and why did the plane lose at least one, maybe both wings on landing, then flip over, causing jet fuel to spill onto the runway?
I think it's possible the wing may have touched the runway due to a gust, and if that's the case, then the rest of this makes sense. But the recorders are going to show that.
In a statement, Delta says our primary focus is taking care of those impacted. The flight was carrying a total of 80 people, 76 passengers, and 4 crew. The investigation now will be led by the Canadian Transportation Safety Board, with both the U.S. FAA and NTSB assisting.
And that was NBC's Tom Costello reporting. Now,
former pilot and aerospace engineer Arthur H. Rosenberg joins us this morning. Arthur, thank you and good morning. Welcome to Fox Weather.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Given your experience being a former pilot and looking at what occurred with this particular flight, how can something like this happen?
Yeah, so in a situation like this, we look at 3 things: man, machine, environment. The environment we know, very windy, snow, ice. The ground crews at the Toronto Pearson Airport had been out for over 24 hours, constantly clearing, making sure those runways were safe. The machine, well, the airplane made it all the way from Minneapolis to almost a safe landing at Toronto Pearson, and now the flight crew. So let's take a look at that. This plane had an approach which, according to publicly available data, was fine, stable approach. They were almost down to touchdown with a wind off to the right of the airplane. When planes land with a wind, a crosswind, they point the nose of the plane, it's called a crab, into the wind. The plane tracks straight, the nose is to the right of the straight line. Just at touchdown, you put in opposite rudder, straighten out the airplane, flare the plane, and hopefully touch down safely. In this case, we had a 40-degree crosswind. We had a wind of gusting 35 to 40 knots, which was just about at the legal limit of this plane's capability to land safely in a crosswind. The next thing is, as a flight crew, you want to get the plane down immediately. So I believe what happened here was this flight crew was faced with a strong crosswind, 10, 15 feet above the ground. They straightened the plane out. They landed very hard. A number of the passengers reported it felt like an incredibly hard landing. At that point, there probably was damage done to the right landing gear, may have perforated the right wing tank, precipitated a loss of control, and at that point, the flight crew up front was basically just the passengers along with everybody else. The plane was out of control. I question the efficacy of this flight crew to continue to make this approach under these conditions. For my money, they should have done a go-around and tried again under hopefully less windy conditions.
Okay, so there you have it, man. So like different opinions, different looks like there's been, some type of, could have been some conflicting news, what I'm saying, as far as some people saying that it was the crosswinds, other people saying that it's not the crosswinds. So conflicting reports on that, right? And the last guy that talked, he's supposed to be an expert on piloting and stuff like that. So we'll just have to wait and see what what comes back with the data and everything. But I do know that I have seen, of course, the people on TikTok and Instagram saying that it's all Trump's fault. But you have to, think about Trump didn't start, laying people off or firing people from aviation and from the air traffic controller commission. He didn't start laying people off until after the DC incident. So you can't make that comparison. It's all speculation at this point when people say that, Trump did that. So, but yeah, but like I said, a lot of people will try to make that, comparison that, oh, it's Trump's fault. But like I said, it's just speculation at the moment. So we'll see exactly what comes of this. You know what I'm saying? So you guys, if you haven't, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe, share. All right. And you guys, please be good to yourselves by all means. Let's be good to one another. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.